Today will be part 3 of my earring series using the Surf's Up Design Challenge Kit from Sawflex. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make 2 more unique earring designs. The first one I'm calling Ocean Ember, which I'm going to use brick stitch and a tassel drop, and the other I'm calling Heart of the Sea, which will feature a handmade heart using seed beads and then crystal accents. If you need any of these extra supplies I'm using today, like the seed beads or the thread, I've included links in the description below so you can follow along easily. As with the previous videos, I'll also be showing you a supply list for each earring before we dive into the step-by-step tutorial. I'm excited about this one, guys, so let's get started. Started with Ocean Ember. So this is the one that we're going to do brick stitch with. So we're going to start off with our little orange crystal that came in the Jesse James Bead mix in the kit. So we're going to start off with this guy, and it's got a nice edge around the side, enough to where you can actually stick your seed beads actually very comfortably around the side of that bead. So that's why I chose to go ahead and do brick stitch with this one. So to start off, we're going to insert our needle and then pull this down to the end of the thread to where you have a comfortable amount that you can hold on to down at the bottom. So I have just a little bit down there, a couple inches or so. Now we need to make some thread bridges, not bread bridges, this is not food. We need to make some thread bridges around the edge so that way we can add our seed beads on through brick stitch. So go back through the bead. Again, we're going to do this twice on this side, and then we're going to do this twice on the other side. So just make sure that this loop, or half loop I guess I should say, stays to the right if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, you're probably starting on the left side. And then do that twice. And that's just for extra stability. You can always just do this once if you wanted to. I usually just do it twice. It just helps with the stability of it, I feel like. And it's how I learned how to do brick stitch, so probably has something to do with that too. So now I flipped it to where those 2 thread bridges are on the left, so now I'm going to go and do the same thing on the right hand side once I've flipped it. So there's the first one. And then continue again and put another thread bridge on this side. And there you go. So now you have thread bridges on both sides of your bead. So now I'm going to flip this one more time in my hand, because this is the first bridge thread that we added, and that's where I'm going to start off my brick stitch. Now with brick stitch, when you first start it off, you always start off adding 2 beads. And so in this case, we're adding our 8/0 seed beads as our first 2 beads, or the first round of beads. Now in this, I'm going to go ahead and do both rounds of brick stitches once. So you can do this in 2 different ways. You can add just your first round of your 8/0s and then come back and add another round on top with your 11 and 15s in between. Well, I'm going to make this hopefully a little bit shorter of a video in that I'm going to do both steps into one. So if this is not making sense to you, then that's what you could do. You could just do just your 8/0s to begin with in the same fashion that I'm teaching you now. Then you just come back, and in between your 2 8/0s you would come up 1 8/0 and then add your 11, 15, 11, and then go down the next 8/0. Move over to the next one and then do the same thing. So for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and do both rounds in one stitch. I've got cat fur all over the place today. Alrighty, so the amount of beads and the sizes of beads I'm picking up for this first stitch is going to be an 8/0, 11, a 15, 11, and an 8. So let this fall down to your working product. And then for brick stitch, you want to go underneath the bridge thread So make sure you go underneath the bridge thread, and it does not matter if you're going from back to the front like I just did, or if it's more comfortable you can always start from the front and go to the back if that's more comfortable for you. Just do whichever way works the best for the way that you bead. And then your beads, when you pull those down, should look something similar to that. Now to finish your brick stitch, you always go up through the last bead that you added. So in this case, our last bead is just going to be that 8-0. Because our first bead is that first 8-0. Our second bead, essentially, is going to be the 11, 15, and the 11, and then our third bead is going to be that 8-0. So you always go back up through that last bead that you added. Now we're set up to start the next one. Now these next steps up until you get down to the very end are all going to be the same. So we're already coming out of our 8-0, so now we need to make this little bridge portion in between the two 8-0s and then add your next 8-0. So you're already coming out of that first 8-0, so add an 11, a 15, 11, and then you also need to add your next 8. So you have an 11, 15, 11, and an 8. Go underneath your bridge thread again, and then pull that down to the product, and see how I'm having to make sure that my thread stays on that edge of the orange bead. That's going to happen from time to time, so just make sure that it doesn't come off that bead too much, because you'll need to put it back on there. And then finish off your stitch by going back through that last bead that we added, which is the 8-0. Then when you pull tight, you want to make sure that your 8-0 sits kind of close to the other 8-0. And it doesn't have to be exactly touching, it can be just close to each other, but just make it as close as you want. You can always have them spaced out further if you want to, but if you make it too tight, then these extra beads that are on top will start wobbling like this. They'll start going back and forth and everything, and it'll make it look like it's too tight. So I'll do this one more time and then I'll let you bead, and then I'll meet you back at the end to show you how to end off your brick stitch. So we added our group of beads, 11, 15, 11, and 8. Go underneath the bridge thread, pull it down, go back up the bead, the last bead that you added, and then pull tight enough to where they kind of sit close to the 8-0s sit close to each other. And that's how you do your first round of brick stitch. So go ahead and continue this around. I ended up adding a total of 15 of my 8-0s. So if you want to count out 15 and then just space them out and everything, then it would look something similar to what I did. Now, I'm going to meet you back at my 14th bead, and then I'll show you the differences as to know if you need to add another bead or if you need to take away a bead. I'll tell you what I'm talking about here in just a minute. So I'll meet you back in just a second, and we'll continue on with the brick stitch. Alright, so to finish out your brick stitch, I am down to bead number 14, so I need to add number 15 right here. And this is kind of what I was talking about. If you're using a different manufacturer other than Miyuki, because I 99% of the time use Miyuki in my seed beads, it's just my seed bead of choice. If you have like Toho or Czech or some other type of seed beads, Azuki, that's another one that's out on the market now, those may be different sizes when you look at beads in this fashion, like when you're trying to do a width right here. See how when let's see if I can hold it closer. There we go. You can see it better now. See when I hold that 15th bead up there, there's very, very little room in between the beads. So once you get down close to where it looks like you're only going to have one more bead left to add, you can always just hold up your bead like this just to measure it. But that's what I'm basically getting at, is that if you're using a different manufacturer, then the width of your beads may be slightly different. Or if you're choosing to use 11-0s instead of 8-0s, your widths are obviously going to be different because 11-0s are smaller beads than 8-0s. So it's just something that's, you know, I learned how to do when I was doing brick stitch. Is when you get down to your very last little section here, or it looks like it's the last section, just hold up that one last bead just to see if you have enough room and it's not too tight and it's not going to be too loose. And then you'll know you have enough beads in there. So we're going to add that 15th bead, and then I'll show you how to end your brick stitch. Whoops. That got caught on my thumb. Did I go through the thread? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Alright, so when you add bead number 15, you still have to link bead number 15 to bead number 1. So there's no bead sitting in between bead number 15 and bead number 1 right now. And so to do that, you just add your 11, 15, 11. And then you're coming out of bead number 15. And then we're going to go down bead number 1. So it's essentially the same way that if you were adding another bead, it's in the same fashion, or similar fashion at least. So now we have to complete that stitch and be coming back out that last bead that we added, which is going to be bead number 1. So there is a, you know, we're right here at the center of the orange bead also. So there's a bridge thread going to this direction, there's also one going to this direction, but there's not one directly underneath that bead right now. So just choose whichever side that you want to go through. I'm going to go to the side that's on the left, since that's where I was beading from. And I'm going from the front to the back this time. Doesn't matter, you can go back to front still. This is just what I choose to do. And then get your thread underneath that bridge thread. Then I'm turning the product around to the back, so I can kind of see where the bead is at and try not to go back through the bridge thread again, because if you go back underneath the bridge thread on the same side, then your beads are going to fall off eventually. So I don't know if you've noticed doing that a couple of times. I have done that in the past, so it's always been one of those fun things that you just learn with. And then that completes your brick stitch. So our next part is that we're going to add our little blue disco looking ball. We're going to add that first, and then we'll put the seed bead down at the bottom so we can add the tassel later. So to do that, we need to get ourselves back to where we are coming out of this center portion of the bead. Well, right now we're going this direction. We're coming out of that 8-0. So we need to go whichever direction. You can go right or left, doesn't matter. Go through your 11, 15, 11 combo, and then it's feeding time for my animals, my husband just said, and then go down that 8-0 that's sitting next to it. So this is basically 8-0 number 2, if you're keeping track of which bead I'm going down and coming up and so on and so forth. Now, you're sitting close enough to where you can just jump back over and go straight down this bead right here, the orange bead. Now sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you're too far away and then you just have to kind of weave yourself back through the beads again. But right now, since we started off next to the hole of the bead, of the orange bead, then it just makes it easier just to go straight over that way, and then your thread path that you just made in between bead number 2 and then basically skipping bead number 1 and going straight through the orange bead just looks like another bridge thread right there. So it kind of gets hidden. Alright, so now we're down at the bottom of the earring, and then I forget how many beads I added. I added, I think 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we're going to add 4 of our 15s and 1 of our 8s. And then we're going to add our disco ball and then another 8. So I have 4 15s, an 8, a disco ball, and an 8. And that 4 15s are just sitting there just to kind of make it to where you can just see a little bit of that turquoise popping out underneath the brick stitch. So that's what I was shooting for, and it ended up working out pretty good. So now we need to go back through this and get back up here to the top of the orange bead so we can add our embellishment up here at the top so we can add our ear wire to it. So to do that, skip over the last 8 that you just added, go back through the disco, the 8, the 4 15s, and continue through the orange bead until you get to the top again. Just like that. And then your 8 should sit down there at the bottom. And then now you're at the top. We're going to add 4 more 15s. And then our last 8, or my last 8, because I counted out 18 of my 8, so I knew exactly how many I was adding. And there again, those 4 15s are just sitting there to make it to where you can just kind of see the turquoise popping out the top of the earring. So we want to go through this one more time. So we're going to go back down the 15s. We're going to skip that 8, go back down the 15s, go back down the orange bead, go back down the 15s on the other side, as well as the next 8, the disco, the 8, and then we're going to come back up, but we're going to stop since we're sitting close. We're sitting to where the starter thread is down here at the bottom. We're going to go back through this 8, go back through the disco, go through the 8 on the other side, and then the 4 15s, but don't go back through the orange bead again. So we're just going through that. And then when you pull that tight, just make sure your little 8 down here at the bottom on the bottom part of the disco is sitting in a good way, in a good way that you like. And then I actually have this thread on the front side. So I'm actually going to see if I can get that to go towards the back. So I'm just trying to grab it with my needle and pull it towards the back of the product. There we go. And then this is where you would just tie off. So just take your 2 ends and make yourself a square knot. Right over left, left over right. For me, I make a loop, go through the loop with the small end towards me once, go through the loop with the small end away from me once, and it's basically the same type of stitch. And then you would burn this part off. Hopefully part of that was on camera. If it wasn't, I apologize. I have other videos where I show you how to tie off your thread just in case I was not on camera there. And then just take your thread burner and make a little ball of thread just like that. And it kind of almost looks like another bead in a way. So if your earring were to flip to the back side, which is, this is considered the back side of the earring, if it were to flip to that, people would probably just think that that's just another bead sitting there. They're not going to realize that it's not part of the earring, or it shouldn't be part of the earring. So now we're done with the thread and needle part for this earring. Now we need to get our tools. So I have a chain nose and a flat nose pliers. And then I'm going to get my seed beads out of the way a little bit. So we can add our jump rings. So this bottom one, when we add our tassel, it's the loop for the tassel itself is a little bit wider. So there's your hole for the tassel and everything. So this one's a little bit wider than actually the 8 itself. It was actually a little bit wider than the 8, so I felt like a 4mm would just be too tight. So I have a 6mm jump ring. And this we're just going to add through the 8, just like that. And then you add your tassel to it. And then close up your jump ring here. So now we have our little disco ball with our tassel down on the bottom. So now let's finish this earring off by adding our ear wire. We're going to put another jump ring. I just went ahead and used a 4mm. I forgot to make sure that this seed bead was sitting right. There we go. Just making my seed beads sit correctly, so I like the orientation of it, so it's easier to add the jump ring. So we're going to put our 4mm jump ring at the top. I say it's easier, and now I'll start shaking more. Any moment now. Yay, I think I got it now. Okay. Maybe. Well, hopefully this is not a 8/0 that's too small of a hole opening for me to be able to get my jump ring through. Because sometimes that does happen too. And if that's the case, I'm going to have to start this over again and redo my 8/0 up there. So I'm going to try to use the same jump ring and go through the other side and see if that helps any. And if this happens to you, that's what you can do. You can try to use the other side. You can also try to use a different jump ring. Sometimes it's a jump ring and not the bead. And sometimes it just is the bead. It may have too much of a coating on the inside of it to make it to where you can't add the jump ring. Sometimes the jump ring is just opened too much. It's like I'm kind of getting it in there, but it's not really working that well. And come on now. It's like it's sitting right there at the edge and it wants to go through, but it's not going through. The struggles. I'm keeping this in the video because I want to make sure that people understand that this type of thing happens sometimes when you're designing and even when you're recording. Okay, what I'm going to end up doing is I'll probably redo this and then I'll add a new jump ring there. But this is all you do. You just open up your ear wire and then you add your ear wire to the jump ring. And then I'll just play with it off screen. You close up your ear wire after you get it on there, just like that. And then I'll play with it off screen and get that jump ring to fix. But that's what you do if you run into the same problem. Change out your jump rings first and maybe just a simple little fix like that. If that doesn't work, then you may have to redo that specific 8/0 that's sitting there. But either way, we have a finished pair of our first pair of earrings called Ocean Ember. So I will meet you back in just a moment and we will start Heart of the Sea. One, which I'm calling Heart of the Sea. So we're going to start off doing this little seed beaded heart down here. And this was just me playing around with beads. So if there's other ways of doing a seed beaded heart, then by all means you can make your own seed beaded heart. But this was just me playing around with beads, seeing if I can get it to work right. So I am starting off with 12 11/0s. And I'm going to double count it, make sure I have enough. So 3, 6, 9, and 12. So I have 12 11/0s on my thread and needle. Pull this down to the end of the thread until it's comfortable for you to hold on to. If you want to, you can always use a stop bead on this one too. And then I'm just going to go back through that first bead and only that first bead. We're going to go back through this a couple of times, so we'll get this reinforced no problem. So go back through that first bead. Now we're going to pick up one bead and then we're going to go through the next 3 beads in line. So I'm coming out of this bead right here. Then I'm going to go through the next 3 in line. So basically it's going to make that one bead stick out as like a picot. That's actually going to be the bottom of our heart. So it looks like that. Then we're going to pick up a second bead. Now this one can get a little confusing. So we're picking up a bead, It's really not confusing, it's just the way I have to say it and make sure I say it right. So pick up a bead, go through one bead. So we're peyote stitching that one on. So that one sticks out kind of like a little picot. We're going to skip that next bead, but make sure that one sticks out towards the outward portion, because that's going to be one of the rounded top portions of the heart. So to do that, we're going to skip this next bead. We're going to go straight through this bead right here. And then before I get my thread and needle really tight, that bead that we skipped, I'm going to put my needle through that bead, and that's just going to help it stick out as a picot, because when I pull my threads tight like this, it allows, or it helps to get that bead to stick out. Then this, we need to add another bead. This is going to be the center portion of the heart right in here. So the top portion of the heart, but the center portion of it that sticks down. So we're going to pick up another bead. Then we're going to go through the next one that is in our little beaded heart. Here we go. I think, okay, just one, not two. Getting close to dinner time, I'm starting to shake a little bit more. And when you pull that one down, you need to make sure this one goes towards the inner portion of the beadwork. Now if it ends up sticking out towards the outer portion, then that's fine, because we're about to come back through and reinforce this. So see how it's already starting to kind of look like a heart. So now we're going to do the other top portion of the heart over here. So this is where we're coming out of this bead. We skip over the next one, go through the next bead in line, and if you need to, you could do my little trick where I get the thread close to being pulled tight, but I put my needle back through that one bead that I need it to stick out. Just make sure you don't wrap your needle around the thread, and then when you pull tight, that'll help it stick out as more like a picot. And then see how that bead kind of went up again. So I'm just playing around with it. We're about to reinforce, so if that's happening to you, it'll be fine. We'll get through it. So now we're back over here to this side again. So we need to add another bead. And we need to get this one to stick out. So we're going to add a bead. Then we're going to go through 3 beads. And then we should be ending up back to the beginning where we added our first bead down here at the bottom of the heart. So now this is where we're going to reinforce. So skip that bottom bead for the point of the heart, go through the next 3, and I'm twisting this in my hands to make it a little bit easier for me to hold it. Then this is the side of the heart right here. So we need to skip that bead that's sticking out and go through the next bead in line. Then this bead is the one that sticks out for the top of the heart. So we skip this bead and we go through the next one. This next bead is the one that needs to be flipping down towards the bottom. So you just play with it again, get it to flip in the direction that you want it to, skip that bead, and then go through the next one. I keep getting wrapped around my mat. And then when you pull tight on that one, it should help it sit in a correct fashion again. And then this one actually flipped inwards again too. So we're going to help this one go back out again, because we need it to sit outwards. So we're going to skip that one that I just played with, that I needed to fix, go through the next one, and then give yourself a little tug to kind of make it a little tighter. Then this is your outer portion, so we're going to skip that one, and then we're going to go through the next 3 beads again. And if you catch on to the point, the bottom point of the heart, that's fine because that's where we're going. So now you should have a little heart, a beaded heart. So if it's still looking a little wonky or anything like that, you can always go through this one more time. Going through 11 O's and everything one more time with your thread should be okay, because usually it can handle 3 or 4 passes of thread, no problem. So now I'm going through the peak, or that little point of the bottom of the heart, because now we're going to add our heart crystal. And then this I added, did I add 2 or 3? I added 3. So we're going to add 3 11 O's. And then we're going to add our heart, going from the top of the heart to the bottom. Then we're going to put an 11O down on the bottom. You can use an 8 if you want to. I didn't realize it until after I got it done that I only used 1 8, so there's just a little bit of turquoise up there at the top, and there's like nothing down here other than the blue down here. It still looks fine, but I probably would have added another 8 if I would have thought about it. But I'm going to do the same thing that I did. Make my earrings look the same. So we've got our crystal with our 11O on. So we're going to go back through the crystal. We're going to skip that 11O, go back through the crystal, go back through the 3 seed beads that we added on the other side. Now we're coming, the first thread path through the point of the heart, the seed beaded heart, is on the left hand side of that bead right now. We need to round it out and make sure we go through the right hand side. So that way it helps to have the crystal heart sit straight. So we're going to do that. And then play around with it for a little bit, make sure it sits the way you want it to. And I'm going to reinforce this. There again, something you really don't have to do because this is kind of the drop portion of it, but I like to just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just going back through my thread paths one more time. And I'm back up here at the 3 11Os in between the 2 hearts, the crystal and the seed beaded one. And then I'm going to make sure I'm going through the right hand side of the bottom of the seed bead heart. And then now we need to get up here to the top. So I'm going to proceed through the next 3 seed beads. And ouch. Try not to poke yourself. That usually hurts with your needle. Then I'm going to skip that point of the rounded portion of the heart. I'm going to go through the next seed bead in line, and then that rounded top portion of the heart, I'm going to go through that bead, and that's where I'm going to add my crystal. Hopefully that was in focus, but that's where I'm coming out, is that top bead up there. So the left hand topmost portion of the heart, the beaded heart. Then we're going to add, I think it's 3 again, 1, 2, 3. 3 11Os. And then we're going to pick up our crystal, little crystal ball, and go through that. And then I think I just went through the 8O. I did. So then we're going to pick up an 8O after that. So I have 3 11Os, our little crystal rhinestone ball, and then an 8O. And then we're going to go back down the crystal rhinestone, the 3 seed beads, skipping over the 8O. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing to this point bead that we did down here at the bottom. So right now, the thread path is coming out of the right hand side of that point bead. So we need to make sure that we go through the left hand side of that bead. So that way there's thread paths on either side. And here again, I'm going to reinforce one more time. So go back up through everything that you just added. And then we're going to go back down it one more time, because then we're going to get ourselves back to where the starter thread is at. So we can tie off, and then we can add our jump ring and our ear wire after that. So just going through those beads. And then we're going to go through the left-hand side of this point bead. Make sure it rounds out, ouch, in the same direction. I think I hit the camera, I'm sorry. I did. Ay, stop. Okay, sorry about that. And then we're going to go ahead and proceed through the next beads, just following the same thread path. So I'm just going to go through that next bead in line. The following bead should be the middle portion of the top part of the seed bead heart. So we're going to skip that one, go through the next one. We're going to skip over the next bead, which is the other top portion, rounded portion of the heart. So we're going to skip that one, go through the next one. And then, come on, needle and thread, let's go. We're going to skip the next one, which is going to be the picot portion of the side of the heart. And then we're just going to go through the next 2 seed beads, because that is where our original thread path started. And then that is where we're going to tie off. So right over left, left over right. For me, make a loop, go through the loop towards me once, make a loop, go through the loop away from me once. I think I did that in the right direction. If I did not, it's okay, it's tied. It's an earring, so it's not going to get any wear and tear. Then just burr down close to the knot without burning through the knot. And then use your thread burner to make a little ball of thread. And with using the beige colored thread with gold beads, you really can't even see the thread whatsoever. So this is where I will add my jump ring, and pray that I didn't have the same problems with the last one. So let's see if this jump ring will go through this one just fine. Come on now. You can do it. Please don't give me problems. Yay! I ended up having to take that earring apart because I actually broke a couple of beads when I was trying to get it to work. So I ended up having to actually redo the whole thing, which was kind of sad, but it is what it is. Sometimes that happens. So I've got the jump ring on there. I'm going to go ahead and close up the jump ring. And once I get this thing closed, then I will orient my earring in the way that I want to make sure it kind of looks like a mirror image of each other. That's my intent, at least. And you don't have to make it look like that. That's just the way I would prefer to make it look, to get those seed beads out of the way. So we have the original earring here on the left, with the seed beaded heart portion going towards the right. And then this one, I want the seed beaded portion going towards the left, so that way it's a mirror image of each other. So I'm just going to open up this earring, and then these type of earrings, or ear wires at least, making sure that 8/0 is sitting in the way that's going to make it hang really nice. You just have to kind of twist it around, and then it'll start looking nice here in a minute. These type of ear wires, all you have to do is just drop it through. You figure out which way that you want your front, so have your front facing you, and then drop it through the jump ring that's sitting there. And then make sure it hooks onto the jump ring, and then just pinch it closed, either with your fingers or with another pair of pliers, and then now you have your Heart of the Sea pair of earrings completed. And there it is! You have 2 more pairs of earrings to add to your Surf's Up collection. I hope you enjoyed exploring brick stitch and seed bead shaping with me. If you missed parts 1 or 2 of this series, I'll link them down below so you can catch up and get the complete full set. Thanks again, everyone. Don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and leave a comment down in the comments. I'd like to know which one was your absolute favorite pair of earrings. Thanks again. I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye now.